and welcome to this edition of KTN Newsdesk. My name is Edith Kimani.
My name is Boni Tunye. It is the second day of October 2013, and coming up on this bulletin. Hague trial resumes. Ruto's case resumes as ICC pre-trial chamber 2 issues arrest warrant against another Kenyan. NHIF boss in court. Former NHIF CEO Richard Kerich denies 116 million shilling fraud charges. We also go to Muharoni, where skirmishes erupt in Muharoni over the private land dispute. Welcome to the program. The trial against Deputy President William Ruto and journalist Joshua Arap Sang resumed today at the International Criminal Court.
Now, the Deputy President had requested an adjournment of the case to allow him to attend to national matters after the Westgate mall attack. First prosecution witness 536 took the stand once more to continue her testimony against the accused.
Now, this is, however, in a closed session after it emerged that there are efforts to reveal the witness identity. Today's session also marks what will be Ruto's longest time away from official duty after the judges cancelled a scheduled break in the hearings.
The court said that this would make up for lost time in the adjournments. There have been 2 adjournments in the case so far, and Ruto's lawyer Karim Khan seems to be on board with the decision after he told the court that he did not mind sitting at weekends or extending hours until 7 p.m. to speed through the proceedings.
Right, now the trials continue smoothly with no further adjustment. Then this will likely to be Ruto's last appearance at The Hague this year. Right, moving on, members of the press came face to face with the 4 police officers who helped save the lives of many when the Westgate shopping mall came under attack about 2 weeks ago. Chief Inspector Stephen Lele and OCS of Kabete Police Station Sergeant Den Aya and Sergeant Twafik Baya, 2 police officers positioned other drivers who walked into the mall to save a woman and her children. And Benjamin Chemjor, the police officer seen in the now famous photo carrying the baby in one arm and a gun in another, say that what they did was in their line of duty and vowed to protect property and human lives. Each shared a unique story of how they came to be at the scene at the time of the attack. Catch a comprehensive report on these stories of the Westgate heroes on our subsequent bulletins.
It's part of life, you see, because kama utaweza saidia mtu, hiyo ndio kitu ya maana kabisa duniani. Si lazima hurt someone, but ile kitu mzuri unaweza fanyia mwenzio ndio kitu ya maana sana, ambao wewe huwezi tarajia binadamu mwingine akufanyie cha ubaya.
I think it's worth mentioning before we move on that the ICC Trial Chamber 2 has issued an arrest warrant for one Walter Barasa for what they say is corrupting witnesses or trying to corrupt witnesses by offering them bribes in order to withdraw from the case. That was unsealed today by that chamber, and we'll have more details for you later. But still in the courts, but locally, former National Hospital Insurance Fund Chief Executive Officer Richard Kerich has denied charges of conspiring to defraud the NHIF of 116 million shillings. The former managing director and 4 other directors, among them Meridian Medical Center directors, were arraigned in court this morning and charged with conspiracy to defraud NHIF. The 5 were charged that between March 2011 and February of 2012, they intended to defraud NHIF of 116 million shillings by entering NHIF into a contract with Meridian Center, knowing that Meridian had no capacity to provide the services. Before a Nairobi magistrate, the 5, Richard Kerich, Marwa Chacha, David Kipruto, Peter Ngonjiri and Ndiba Woriako, denied the charges and were released on a 2 million shilling cash bail or a bond of 5 million shillings. The hearing of the case begins on January 27th next year.
shooting at Westgate Mall in Nairobi. Now, the mall area where more than 67 people were killed is still in shambles. Residents and business owners are trying to pick up the pieces, literally and figuratively. Although Kenyan media are still being prevented from accessing the building, CNN's Zain Verji got in and brought out this story.
The rooftop parking deck of Westgate Mall. Standing here for the first time is emotional.
Can't believe my eyes. I walked here pretty much every day I was in Nairobi. It feels really eerie and unbelievable. This is the neighborhood grocery store, and Westgate was the pride of Nairobi. You can see bullets in the glass around me. You can see exactly where the children had their cooking classes.
Where they were gunned down, the stench of burned metal and ash lingers, along with the smell of decomposing flesh. Early Tuesday, 2 more bodies were found under the rubble. Inside, glass crunches under my feet as we pass what was a child's swing. Walking past shops like Java House or Planet Yogurt, Nairobi's newest craze. The rattle on the concrete is not of shoppers, but that of store owners clearing out what was left of their wares. Among them, Rashida Zahid. We met her outside the pet store she owns, but there is little for her and her staff to salvage.
They say that whether the shops were vandalized or they were terrorized, we have no idea what has happened.
But you've lost everything.
But we've lost everything, yeah.
It's been the most devastating for those who lost loved ones. This was an attack that stole something from everyone.
It's a strange juxtaposition of everything that's normal and everything that is desperately not.
For Nairobi residents, the normal they knew no longer exists. Zain Verji, CNN, Nairobi.
Right, from Westgate, let's go to the western part of this country, and exactly in Muharoni, where skirmishes have erupted at a Muharoni farm between local farmers and the administration police, who are preventing the farmers from getting into the farm of the former magistrate Effie Awor over allegations that she has encroached on public land. Fred Omulo brought out that story. Take a look.
The volatile Chemase and Nyangori locations sandwiched between Nandi and Kisumu counties have been experiencing skirmishes in the past, especially in 1992 and 2007, when politicians conspired with villagers to evict unwanted residents. Over the last few months, farmers and squatters from the Nandi side have been at loggerheads with their neighbors, and livestock theft resumed to an all-time high on both sides.
Wananchi wanasema ya kwamba kuna mkurugenzi mkuu ambaye hulinda shamba hili na wamekuwa wakikodesha shamba hili kwa miaka mingi sasa, na tangu hapo hawajapata makatalio yote kutoka kwa mkurugenzi huyo ya kwamba wasiendelee kulima shamba hilo. Hiyo ndio jambo ambalo lilileta utatanishi asubuhi, na ndio maana tumefika hapa.
The Nandi governor Cleophas Lagat, who was in Kisumu at the time of the attack, condemned the incident but alludes to historical injustices that have inspired the tension between the Luo and their Nandi neighbors.
We are looking into historical injustices. How did these people come into being squatters in the first place? We really need to understand. And once we understand, we engage even our county assemblies. Because we really need to our county assemblies to enact some legislation so that we work within the law.
Luckily, the police responded quickly to the attack on their colleague as a contingent of security bosses turned up to calm the situation and preach peace.
The firearm was recovered, but the attackers are at large. The investigation is being done for the apprehension to be done.
For now, all eyes are on the area, especially because voting patterns in the recent elections set the Nandi and the Luo communities against each other, raising the prospect of extended tension. With the runaway insecurity that is plaguing the country, one only wonders what will happen next in this region. From Nyangori in Kisumu County, I am Fred Omulo.
Just a reminder that the International Criminal Court today unsealed an arrest warrant issued against a journalist. His name is Walter Barasa, and they say that he allegedly corruptly influenced witnesses or tried to corruptly influence witnesses by offering them money in order to withdraw as witnesses. Of course, these are prosecution witnesses and these are just allegations. Now, the court said this is pre-trial chamber 2. They said that the reason why they're issuing an arrest warrant is so that he does not continue to interfere with the ongoing cases that are currently at The Hague against Deputy President William Ruto and journalist Joshua Arap-Sang. We will continue to update you on this story as it unfolds. Remember that at the moment, the ICC is in a closed session listening to the account of witness 536 against that same case. Elsewhere, a raid by the Ministry of Health officials saw 15 people arrested and several chemists shut down in Kayole, that's in in Kayole, Umoja and Komarok areas in Nairobi. The 15 are alleged to be medical quacks that were practicing medicine. Leading the operation was David Yumba, the Chief Executive Officer of the Medical Practitioners and Dentists Board, and he vowed to stop all those practicing illegally and bring them to book. The 15 were arrested yesterday and are set to appear in court soon.
Lilian, makaratasi yako ni wanyonya. Makaratasi have been good to you.
This is an exercise which will take us the whole week. We have so far inspected 28 facilities and we have arrested 14 persons with offenses related to practicing medicine when they are not qualified, to operating unlicensed facilities, and persons posing as health practitioners while they have not undergone the requisite training.
Right, and the newly appointed NACADA chairman John Mutudho has urged county governments to ban the sale of alcoholic drinks packaged in plastic bottles.
Speaking during his first county tour in Murang'a County, Mutudho said the counties had power to make their own bylaws that will curb the increase of illicit liquor in their areas.
Mutudho warned that the increased sale of beers packaged in plastic bottles will pave way for illegal brewers to introduce harmful drinks in the market.
Consumers have a right to goods of sufficient quality as defined by law. And where agents like now Murang'a County and the national government do not take action to protect the consumer, and at a CODI, they can also be made to compensate those people. If we sit here as Murang'a government and we don't do nothing, then we can also be held responsible for the mess, particularly when people start dying in numbers. Plastic bottles, no way.
We shift gears to what is making headlines in business, and Samsung Electronics East Africa has teamed up with the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology to provide affordable laptops for university students. The deal will see all the JKUAT students acquire genuine laptops from Samsung at a highly subsidized cost. According to Samsung's Robert Ngeru, the exponential growth of ICT sector in Kenya has created a need for highly skilled professionals capable of driving IT and innovation and entrepreneurship both in public and private sector. The demand has also been fueled by the new dispensation that led the county government that will be relying heavily on ICT while collaborating with the central government. It is out of this that the firm rolled out the deal in an effort to boost the skills among university students while anchoring the project on affordability. Now, some 5,000 laptops will be available for purchase by the JKUAT students.
We like it as soon as you see.
Right, the word is collaborative. Moving on, move over Coca-Cola. The world has a new leading brand. CNN's Carl Azuz tells us what company tops the list of the most valuable brands.
What's in a brand? Value, for one thing. For the past 13 years, since consulting company Interbrand started ranking what it calls the best global brands, Coke was it, the world's most valuable brand. But just this year, Apple ripened, reaching the top spot thanks in part to the release of its newest iPhone. And Google found its way into the report's second most valuable spot. This doesn't mean Coca-Cola has lost value. Interbrand says Coke gained value over last year by 2%. But Apple jumped 28% compared to 2012. Google a whopping 34%. And when you look at how the estimated values of these brands break down, you see Apple at the top with an estimated worth of $98.3 billion. So what? Well, the shift shows the starring role technology is taking in our lives. The majority of this year's top 10 most valuable brands are associated with high technology. Interbrand says their products change buying behaviors and how we communicate with each other. But the rankings aren't necessarily the last word on popularity. If you turn to Facebook for a measure, Coke has more than 73 million likes. Google has around 15 million, and Apple has a comparatively tiny 9.7 million. In fact, when you look at who likes Facebook itself, you'll see 95 million thumbs ups, almost as much as the other three brands combined. Carl Azus, CNN, Atlanta.
At least now we know what is the leading brand, but I do understand we have breaking news from the ICC. Edith?
All right, this is just to recap on what we know that is coming from The Hague, and the ICC, specifically Pre-Trial Chamber 2, has issued an arrest warrant which was issued against journalist Walter Barasa for what they say was allegedly corruptly influencing witnesses or trying to. And this basically means that he allegedly offered witnesses money in order to withdraw from the case, prosecution witnesses, and Fatou Bensouda, who is the chief prosecutor of the cases against, or rather of the case against Deputy President William Ruto and journalist Joshua Arap Sang, issued a statement immediately after.
The government of Kenya has received a warrant for the immediate arrest and transfer of Walter Barasa to the International Criminal Court to face criminal charges. There is evidence to suggest that Walter Barasa tried to bribe someone he thought was a prosecution witness in the case against Mr. Ruto. The office is taking action against those who are alleged to be corruptly influencing prosecution witnesses. The prosecution has conducted a comprehensive investigation on the basis of documented allegations of witness interference, which continues to date. The evidence collected so far indicates that there is a network of people who are trying to sabotage the case against Mr. Ruto by interfering with prosecution witnesses. Walter Barasa, against whom compelling evidence has been collected, has been part of this network, and his actions fit into this wider scheme that the office continues to investigate. Under Article 70 of the Rome Statute, using bribes or threats to influence witnesses to change or recant their testimony is a crime. If found guilty, Walter Barasa faces up to 5 years in prison, a fine, or both. We expect Kenyan authorities to arrest Walter Barasa and hand him over to the court. He will appear before ICC judges on charges of corruptly influencing and attempting to corruptly influence a person he believed to be a prosecution witness. The warrant was issued by the single judge of the pre-trial chamber after he determined, on the basis of the evidence, that there are reasonable grounds to believe that Walter Barasa corruptly influenced or attempted to influence a person he thought was a prosecution witness. During an initial hearing before the ICC judges, Walter Barasa will be informed of the crimes which he is alleged to have committed and of his rights under the Rome Statute. His plea will be entered, and the judges will then set a date for a hearing on the charges. At this subsequent hearing, the judges will hear submissions from both the prosecution and Walter Barasa's defense on whether his case should go to trial. If the charges are confirmed, the judges will set a trial date. These are the next steps in the case against Walter Barasa. In the meantime, we continue to monitor and investigate all incidents of witness interference. The issuance of an arrest warrant in this case should be a warning to others who may be involved in obstructing the course of justice through intimidating, harassing, bribing, or attempting to bribe ICC witnesses. My office will continue to do everything it can to ensure that witnesses are able to present their evidence before the court without fear. Witnesses who have courage to come forward to testify deserve no less. The ability of the court to determine the truth in the Kenyan cases depends on the willingness of witnesses to come forward and present their evidence in the courtroom. I admire and am grateful for the moral courage displayed by the witnesses involved in these cases. Through my office, I will do all within my power to protect the integrity of our cases and ensure that justice is allowed to run its course unobstructed.
Kenya's interaction with the International Criminal Court seemingly increasing after pre-trial Chamber 2 of the International Criminal Court unsealed an arrest warrant for one journalist, Walter Osapiri Barasa. And we now hand you over to Boni Tunya. The details of that story will be coming to you in our subsequent bulletins, but do also log on to Twitter and follow us for any updates that might appear before then.
Right, and also standardmedia.co.ke is where you will get all the full info about that particular arrest warrant. We'll now put a spotlight on the challenges of girl child education, and we'll go to Laikipia, where Karonderi has prepared a report on what girls go through in seeking education.
Watching these girls perform a traditional Samburu song in Laikipia North District, you may not realize that behind those melodious voices, there are stories of pain and suffering. But each and every one of these girls has a story to tell, be it about early marriages, female genital mutilation, dropping out of school, and many more. And it is not just the girl child alone whose childhood is locked in pain and struggle. The boys also face many challenges. Quite a number of them have to drop out of school to become morans. Then there is banditry, which is commonplace in this area, and to add to that, the total lack of facilities for children with disabilities.
Tutawaomba watu wetu kwa heshima tupeleke watoto shule. Lakini tukishindwa kuwaomba, tutaomba ofisi ya DC na machifu tuweke mguu yetu chini na kuhakikisha kwamba kila mtoto ambaye amehitimu kwenda shule ya Laikipia North ni lazima aende shule.
Na nataka kuomba hii jamii ya Wamasai tafadhali, hii mambo ya kupeana wasichana kuolewa tuache tafadhali.
Wakati nilikuwa natafuta watu wa kunominate au kuwapatia kazi, hata saa hii ile shida niko nayo kubwa sana ni wale wamepita kuwa na degree, ile degree inafaa na experience ile inatakikana. Inakuwa shida.
Kweni kali mkitetea mishahara ya walimu, lakini pia kweni kali kutetea haki ya watoto hao.
The district prize giving day held at Old Jogi Primary School sought to encourage pupils to aim higher and catch up with their counterparts in other regions of Kenya in matters development and progress. Laikipia North is dotted with conservancies, and many stakeholders are now being called upon to look into the welfare of the children as a way of giving back to the communities around the conservancies. Old Jogi is one such conservancy that is sponsoring the Old Jogi Primary School, enabling children from the pastoralist communities to access education. The national government has been urged to employ more teachers, especially in the arid and semi-arid areas. For a long time now, the pastoralist communities have borne the brunt of underdevelopment in all spheres of life, and the education sector has been severely affected, and they say it is time all this changed. Carol Derry for KTN in Laikipia North.